What is going on, guys? My name is Jordan and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be working again with DeathSwap. We're going to be finishing some of our to-do list options here, and so let's get right into it. First of all, we yesterday said we were going to add some listeners for death, commands for joining, finish the swap task, and add a spectator option. Okay, so let's go ahead and hop right in here. So let's just go ahead and start one by one. Well, actually, if we were to start one by one, let's do this in order. Let's make a way for the game to start. So let's go ahead and make our listeners package along with the class inside. So listeners dot, we're gonna say player interact, and there we go. We're just gonna go ahead and hit implements. How should we do this? Implements, listen, how should we do this? It's listener, it's been so long. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and create our event here. I'm just gonna go ahead and make this on player interact at entity, player interact at entity event ex. Actually, that should be an event or an EV. What's the deal here? Annotation not supported at this language level. Huh. Let's just go ahead and see. Oh, the language level is somehow set to 1.3. We should be set to 7 or 8. I'm gonna go with 7. Okay, cool. That is the weirdest thing. I've not seen that happen before. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our player. So player equals event.getPlayer. We're gonna say entity is going to be equal to event.get right clicked. And we're going to go ahead and say if entity.getCustomName is not null, and the entity.getCustomName.toLowerCase.contains, because we want to make sure that case sensitivity does not matter here. Needs to have join DeathSwap. Actually, we need to have this all be lowercase just because that's how it's going to check everything. If we were to put capitals in here and say, okay, we're going to make this thing lowercase, then we're going to check if it contains this thing with uppercase letters. That will always be false, so make sure whenever you do the toLowerCase.contains that is also lowercase. Or you can just make an extension method, or a method that will convert that for you, but hey, you do you. So now that we have this, we can just go ahead and say player.sendMessage. We're just going to leave that blank really quickly. We need a utility package, and I'm going to include my chat util class that I always use. We're going to say public static string format, and then we're going to string text, and then we're just going to return chat color dot whoops, not that one, color. Don't know why the Bungie one is in there. That's a little odd. And then we're just gonna say text. Okay, cool. Now that we have this formatting method, we can just go ahead and say chat_util.format. Boom. And let's also make another method in here just to make this a little simpler for the future. We're gonna have a public static string format with prefix string text. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna say return. We're gonna say format and C and L death swap, and we're gonna have and 6 -- space and F plus text. So by default the text will be in white. I think it looks pretty good in this format, and if it doesn't, we can always go change it. So let's go into player interact, and now instead of that we can just say format with prefix, and now we don't even have to include the prefix copy paste it everywhere, because if we change it one time it will be a pain in the butt to change it later on. So always make sure you have some way of changing your prefix, or else you'll regret it later. So now that we have this, let's just go ahead and say you're in the DeathSwap queue. So, oops, we need to make sure this is DeathSwap, and let's also quickly, as soon as that, okay. For some reason that doesn't do anything. Let's go over into this where it thinks it's incorrect, and we're just going to save that into our dictionary. So right now we're just going to say to-do add user into the queue. So basically what the queue is going to be is it's just going to be a quick list of different players who want to join, and as soon as that list reaches 2 players, then it will you know, start the game. So let's just go ahead. Let's do another listener here. We need a player login. And let's just go ahead and say implements listener. And what this guy's going to have is going to be our login handlings, public void on login, player login event. And now we're just going to do some quick things. Let's make a option here, just in the root. We're just going to go ahead and change this to, oh, I don't have the option here. This is going to be a num, and this is going to be our game state. Just go ahead and change this to a num here. And what we're going to have is we're going to have lobby in game or resetting. Okay, cool. So now let's just go ahead. I think we're going to have the game state class self-contain its own variable. That's totally okay. We're going to have a public game state. This guy needs to like that, I think. We don't need this public, we just need that. Okay, now we're just going to have a public static game state is going to be a default equal to lobby. And we're just going to quickly have our public static game state get game state, and we're going to say public static void set game state, and finally we're going to have a public static boolean is game state, and this is just going to return this dot game state, not even this, we just need game state is going to be equal to this. Oh, whoops. We can just statically specify it, that's cool. And this needs to be an equals. Boom. Alright, cool. So, we can leave this guy empty for now. If you wanted to, you could have other variables within this num. Okay, so we're just going to leave that comment there for future reference. And now what we're going to say is we're going to say if game state dot is game state dot lobby. So if the game state's in lobby, we're just going to by default allow. But if it's not, we need to check a few things. We need to say, okay, we're going to say if DeathSwap dot get instance dot, and we can say we need to make a method in here. We're going to say public boolean is user playing, and this is just going to take in a player object, and we're going to say return first player dot or equals player dot get unique ID or second player dot or equals player dot get unique ID. So if either one of these UUIDs we had stored before is the same, then we're just going to allow the user to join in player login. Okay, so we're just going to say is user playing event.getPlayer. We're just going to say is if they're not playing, we're going to say event.disallow result dot, we're just going to say kick full chat util.format with prefix. And we're going to just do a quick /n, and we're going to say, and see this DeathSwap game is in progress. You are, whoops, let's do a new line again. You are currently unable to join. Okay, so now that that is out of the way, I think this is good to go. Actually, really quick, if game state dot is game state, we need to make sure if it's resetting, we're just not going to let anyone on. We're just going to say event dot disallow result dot kick whitelist is probably a good option, and we're just going to say chat util dot format with prefix. The game is resetting. Period. Actually, let's do a new line and do an and f. Okay, cool. And then we're just going to pop a return in there. We're also going to do a return in here just in case we add anything later. And okay, so our login is good to go. Now we need to do a few more things in here. we need to go ahead and let's remove this isGameRunning option. There really isn't a reason for that, as we have the game state variable. So we're just going to say if GameState.isGameState GameState.inGame, or GameState.is. Actually, we just need to check if it's not lobby. We're just going to return. So if the game is not in the lobby, you're not able to start the game. So now that that's out of the way, let's go into, well, actually, as we're joining, we're going to remove this option for joining because we're going to have the NPC that will spawn it. We can make an admin command that will spawn that NPC later on. So let's actually add that in there. Add admin command for spawning join NPC. Okay. So I think we should try and aim to get something going here that we can show off, simply because I think it's going to get a little boring if we only show code in this episode and the last one. That will just make it a little boring. So let's try and get the world things out of the way. So now that this is ready to go, actually let's go ahead and have a boolean in here. Actually, we don't even need that. Let's go ahead and make some methods in here. We're going to make a public void delete world. We're going to say bucket.getServer.delete. Actually, I have a method that I used a long time ago for deleting worlds. I'm going to go into other projects to salvage that method, and I will put that in here in just a second. I'll be right back. Alright, so now that we have this method, we now are able to delete our worlds if we just call this.world.get. Actually, we need to do something else really quick. We need to say file world_dir is going to be equal to bucket.getServer.getWorldContainer. I think there was another method in here. I believe it might have actually been just world.get world folder. Actually, oh, that'll work fine. .get absolute file is probably the best option. And we're just going to quickly call delete right there. Parse that in, and then we just need to quickly say boop. And that should delete. We'll test this. That's something we'll test this episode. So let me just quickly leave a note for myself.
Okay, I'll remind you.
Alright, Siri is now set to remind me. We are good to go. I can't wait to have that on my Mac. That'll be so much more helpful. So, let's finish our queue. So, let's go into DeathSwap. We're now just going to have a private list UID queue, and that's going to be equal to a new array list. And let's just go ahead and make a public void join queue player if queue. Actually, we're just going to go ahead and say queue.add player.getUnique ID if queue.size equals 2. Then we're just going to go ahead and say start game queue.get. Actually, we need to go ahead and say bucket.getPlayer queue.get0. We're just going to quickly do the same exact thing here, except with 1. So that'll start the game, and we're just going to say queue.clear. Now down in our start game method, let's go ahead and say this dot, actually not even this, we need to say GameState dot game, actually set GameState GameState dot in game. Now that we're in game, so, or now we are in game, and quickly go back into player interact, and we need to go ahead and actually add them into the queue. So DeathSwap.getInstance.join queue player. Now they're in the queue, we can probably leave this for now. Actually, I just realized something. If we had left the code like this would be problematic. Let's go ahead and say if GameState.isGameState.GameState.lobby. So if we're in lobby, then they can join the queue, but if they're not, or if we're not in lobby, if they're in game or resetting, we do not want anything to be able to happen. So there we go. Let's go ahead and go into here. Let's create our world extension, private world extension, world extension. And now what we're going to do is we are going to on start game. We're just going to quickly say, well, at this point, we could probably just say bucket.broadcast message. So let's make a quick local method, actually public void broadcast string message. And we can just say bucket.broadcast message chat util dot format with prefix message. So now let's go ahead and say broadcast. The world is generating. Prepare for lag. Let's make another game state method really quick. Let's have a world underscore generating. So a world generating method. World underscore generating. And let's go ahead and make a callback. Where's the error? Oh, right here. Let's go into world extension. We need to make a callback in here. And now what we're going to say, we're just going to go ahead and say public void world extension finish callback. Actually, you know what? We could just supply a runnable in here. What am I doing? Runnable. Cool. Don't even need that. Let's just go ahead and now that that's ready to go, we just need to say world extension equals new world extension from new bucket runnable with our public void run. Cool. So this method is going to be called. Actually, we need to go ahead and say world extension. As soon as this is done, we just need to say runnable.run. So now this is going to get called whenever the world is done generating. I'm just going to say world generated game ID. Actually, you are playing game number plus. Whoops, we need to say file system dot get instance dot get system. Actually, we can just say get game ID. We have a local instance of that, which is actually the accurate one. So I think this is probably about testable. And as soon as this happens, let's just go ahead and make a new bucket runnable here. And we're going to have our public void run, etc. This is just going to be a temporary thing. Right here, we're just going to say, whoops. We need to actually, that's the proper method. What's the... Not quite sure why. I seriously can't remember how to run a bucket runnable. I'll have to look into that. Let's just go ahead and say bucket dot get scheduler dot run task later DeathSwap plugin dot get instance. Now we have not used that yet. New bucket runnable. I think, is that proper? No. Oh wait, yes, it might be. Okay, that's not quite how you do it. Let's give me just 1 second to figure out why the heck I can't figure out how to do this. Oh wait, no, there's not even a new bucket runnable. We just need a new runnable. Cool, and that fixes everything. That's hilarious. Okay, so we're just gonna do this 20, let's do this 5 seconds later. Oops, 5. And then we're just gonna say broadcast testing world deletion world extension dot delete world. Okay, cool. And let's just go ahead. Let's hide these methods really quick that set the UUID, and then in here, after everything's enabled, let's just go ahead and say DeathSwap.getInstance.startGame null and null, just so we can actually test this properly. Okay, let's go ahead. I'm going to generate this build, and we will be in game in just, we're not even in game, we're just going to watch console, and I'll be right back. Alright everyone, so through some simple research, I think what the problem here is that this dot is trying to do all sorts of things, and it's trying to help us. It's basically either Java or Bukkit or something trying to help us out, which is not exactly what we want. So I went ahead and did some things here, and this is deleting the contents of this folder for all I know, because if I was to reload the server right now, you can see here it's recreating ds_7 every single time. It's not deleting these files from it for some reason, but it's recreating it every time. So I think I'm not entirely sure what the heck's happening. I think I'm just gonna have to leave this for now, and so I'll probably speed up all of the world generation, because that just took a lot of, it was just a waste of time in my opinion. We'll get back to this. So we just need to go ahead and mark this as to do fix this, because that's what all good programmers do. You mark everything as fix it later. But I'm gonna go ahead and remove all this debug code from this guy here. Okay, well that was worth a try. Hey, I mean it's not like it was bad. It was definitely worth it to get that out of the way. But now that we have this going, we can now delete this code in here, go ahead and reinsert those two, and now we can get back on our way in here. So let's see, we need to teleport these guys to random locations, at least spread out. So we're just gonna go ahead and say to do teleport users. Actually, we could just call swap task, because swap task will do that. So we just need to go ahead and say bucket.getScheduler.run task. Actually, hold on. We just need to say new swap task dot run task. There, okay, there. That's how you do it. Okay, so we need to say run task. Actually, we can just say run task. So we just need to insert our DeathSwap plugin right in there, and oops, we need our get instance. There we go. And now inside of swap task, we just need to say to do. So let's go ahead and actually say in here, as soon as this is generated, we want to change the game state one more time. We just want to say dot this will be in game now, and we want to quickly say this dot first. Whoops, what the heck? Oh, whoops. Let's say one dot send message. Actually, we just need to say broad. That's okay. Broadcast. You will now be teleported, and the game will start in 30 seconds. So the reason I'm saying 30 seconds here is because we need to give their chunks some time to load in, and while chunks are loading in, usually Minecraft does not receive any data, no messages, no updates, no nothing, and it just kind of it goes slow. And I'm not entirely sure why that is, but this is just the 30-second buffer is to say, okay, you get this amount of time to load in your chunks, which usually should be good enough, and then there you go. And this should be good to go. There's a way to load certain chunks where the player is supposed to be. We'll absolutely do that to make it a little smoother for them. But yeah, I think this is good. We didn't really do too much in this to-do list, but we got some other important things done. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like, leave some comments if you have any suggestions. The GitHub is also down below if you want to contribute, submit a pull request, and do all that. Hope you guys enjoyed. Take care. One thing I forgot to mention, everyone, my buddy Codename Flip is also doing a speed code of all of the death swaps. He's making his own version that he doesn't look at my code, anything like that. He makes his own version of DeathSwap, and we're going to compare it at the end of my series. So if you want to go ahead and go over and check him out, I'll put a link to his video and his channel in the description. Go ahead and check him out. He's a great guy. And that's all for the video actually this time. Hope you guys enjoyed, and take care.